Are you tired of being called a racist, a misogynist, a white supremacist, a Nazi, a homophobe, and a transphobe? Then you need to learn how to be a politically correct bigot.
This ought to be good.
See, the days of being able to shout racist and sexist slurs from the rooftops are over.
I cannot remember for the life of me the last time I've ever wanted to go up on the rooftop, which is scorching hot during the day and cold as fuck during the night, and just scream a bunch of racial slurs. I've never wanted to do that. You're talking up your ass again.
People are too politically correct now.
You're goddamn right.
It's like for some reason people don't like blatant hatred being spewed everywhere.
Yeah, like the videos where you say, if you don't have sex with a trans person, you're transphobic. Pretty fucking hateful.
I don't get it. But anyway, because of this new climate of tolerance and acceptance, you have to be more careful with your words if you happen to be a skeptical, rational, free-thinking, patriotic American like me.
You are not any of those things. You are American-hating SJW retard and a straight man in drag. He has a girlfriend. That has got to be the most disrespectful thing I have seen you do yet.
Don't worry though, I've got your back. Here's how you can learn to be a politically correct bigot.
If you have less control of yourself than I do, then prepare to start screaming in fits of rage.
Number 1, don't call black people the N-word.
I don't use the N-word. I haven't called a black person the N-word since 2007 when I was a freshman. And that guy deserved it. He was an asshole, a bully, and just a jackass.
Just call them thugs.
You know what I call black people? People. Black people aren't thugs. And I don't think of black people when I hear the word thugs. I just think of Sith-looking guys, like the Hood thing, sometimes with cloaks, like Jack the Ripper. I got a dark mind.
All know that white people should be allowed to say the N-word, but in today's political climate, you just can't. Too many triggered snowflakes out there. So
Lacey's being honest for once.
Instead, just call them thugs. It's just as racist on the inside, but sounds less racist on the outside.
Or, what if you're calling someone who happens to be black a thug because, I don't know, they are a thug? Like guy who's with Bloods and Crips and what the fuck ever else. I hate this fucker. What are you doing?
Number 2, instead of saying that you hate people of color, just say that you support national security.
Well, I am the first to admit that I would never sacrifice my freedoms for national security. Fuck the Patriot Act. But there is nothing wrong with supporting national security. I do want national security, not because I hate people of color, but because, I don't want Oklahoma City bombing, Boston bombing, or fucking 9/11 happening again.
The trick here is that nobody can disagree with wanting national security, so anyone who criticizes you will look like an asshole. Then you can build a huge wall on the southern border and ban people from the Middle East and say it's for national security, even though those things won't actually make us any safer.
Justin, you're an asshole by nature.
Then you can build a huge wall on the southern border and ban people from the Middle East and say it's for national security, even though those things won't actually make us any safer.
You don't know that. Even Yoda cannot see that fate.
The important part is they look like they'll make us safer, and they'll keep people of color out.
I'll admit that I'm questioning the effectiveness of this wall and how much it'll cost. That's the biggest concern. But it's better than doing nothing. And it's not about keeping people of color out. It's keeping dangerous people out. Wait, I'll bet you live in California, which is mostly where toxic liberals are. Wait till another San Bernardino happens wherever you live, and you'll be caught in the middle, and you'll be like, oh, if only Trump had built the wall.
A win-win. Number 3, if you want to lead a harassment campaign against someone, make sure that you display a disclaimer saying that you don't condone harassment.
This is an idiot who thinks you're responsible for harassment even if you come out blatantly say, please do not harass me. Basically, if harassment comes, it's your fault no matter what you do. He's an idiot. God forbid he acknowledged that there are shitty people who like to troll or just people who ignore the harassment. That it's all a cult. People who don't align with the SJW movement just harass people no matter whether there's a harassment notice or not. There are people who are also just trolls who are just trying to get a rise out of you,
See, an old-fashioned harassment campaign is seen as offensive nowadays. Something about bullying marginalized people or some shit like that. So
no one is marginalized in this country. No one is excluded from everything. I hate this prick.
instead of telling people what you're doing, just do all of the same things, but don't say that you're doing it.
What?
Essentially, you want to make it easy for your hundreds of thousands of followers to go harass someone by giving them all the information they need, but not actually directly telling them to do it.
You are ignoring the fact that many people in these videos say, in fact, start with, like Baring, he has a no harassment disclaimer at the beginning of every one of his videos. And some people, they have it in the description, and sometimes they actually say don't harass. But again, Dennis, you're forgetting that you can't control your followers or your subscribers. He thinks everyone has this cult mentality or something.
If you make it easy enough for them, they'll do it whether you tell them to or not. And
exactly. So, what's your point?
this way, you can avoid any responsibility. It's like putting a really tasty treat in front of a hungry dog and then telling the dog that it shouldn't eat the treat. It's still gonna do it, but then it's not your fault because you told it not to. No.
So, I criticized your video, therefore it's my fault that you get harassment?
Number 4, don't call people feminazis, just call them feminist extremists.
It's the same damn thing. And people like you like to throw around the word Nazis and white supremacists so much it means literally anyone is not. It's a Nazi or white supremacist. Doesn't agree with you, white supremacist Nazi. Conservative, white supremacist Nazi. Someone you don't like, white supremacist Nazi. Ben Shapiro, white supremacist Nazi, even though he is an Orthodox Jew. Milo Yiannopoulos speaks out against identity politics. He's a Nazi, even though he's a gay Jew.
Back in the day, feminazi was a perfectly good insult. You could dismiss the arguments of any annoying feminist with just one word.
Similar to how people like you do the same.
But now, thanks to PC culture, we have to use 2 words. Feminist extremists.
I've never been heard of the term feminist extremists, although they have become the same damn thing nowadays. Feminists are extremists nowadays, at least since Trump was elected. Back during Obama's days, feminists were just these whiny bitches, just complaining about stupid shit and looking for sexism where it doesn't exist. But now, threatening to blow up the White House, Madonna?
Still, it's a good way to ignore the concerns of anyone who criticizes you, so I highly recommend using it.
Someone please kill me now.
Instead of saying that you hate trans people, just say that you wouldn't date them. Thanks.
Remember, people, this idiot thinks that you're a transphobic bigot if you don't date trans people. Maybe it has nothing to do with the fact that maybe you just want to settle down with someone who has a family. Also, you're, religious. And also, maybe I like to be with a woman with a vagina, and or a man might want to be with a man with a dick. Or a woman wants to be with a man with a dick. Or a woman wants to be with a woman with a vagina. Preferences. Oh no, you can't have preferences. That's transphobic. That's discriminatory.
To all the liberal, leftist, communist transgenders out there, it's now not okay to hate someone just because they're trans.
Outside of the Westboro Baptist Church and ignorant hates like that, most people don't hate trans. At least not because they're trans. But we do hate the ones that just want to shove their agenda down our throats.
That's ridiculous. You know it, I know it, we both know it. So to get around this, just say you would never date a trans person. It's a good way of getting your message across without explicitly saying it. Plus, if anyone criticizes you, you can just call them a rapist and claim that they're trying to force you to have sex with a transgender person.
Feminists and SJWs like you are the kind that would call someone a rapist. That isn't one. And it's not that we're not saying that you're trying to force us. What they're saying is you're either trying to pressure us, but you're saying, date me or you're a transphobe.
Because remember, implicit bias is fake news.
Actually, I'm pretty sure you're fake news. Along with CNN and BuzzFeed, I've got huge hands.
Number 6, don't call yourself a white supremacist. Just say that racism doesn't exist.
Hardly anyone in this country is a white supremacist. And nobody says racism doesn't exist. The fact that white supremacists and black supremacists exist, yes, there are black supremacists. Ever heard of this Godzi, Black Hitler Kodzo? No one says that. It's just we're saying institutional racism doesn't exist. I am so drinking up to this.
That people of color are ruining our country.
No one says that. We're saying illegal people, illegal immigrants, and people on both left and right are ruining this country. People like you.
White supremacist has all sorts of negative connotations now. White nationalist is sometimes okay, but not always.
It's also words people like you tend to throw around against anybody that disagrees with you.
The easiest way around this is just to say that you have white pride and to complain about reverse racism and white genocide. Talk about the evils of multiculturalism. Laugh about the people of color who will die because of environmental racism.
No one laughs when people of a certain race die. Now, some people, sick individuals do laugh when people die, and no one has died of environmental racism. No one says the word nigga and all of a sudden someone dies.
Yell at people when they don't speak English.
Well, I know some Spanish, but if they're gonna try to talk to me in another language that I don't fucking understand, well, and if they insist that they don't speak American in this country, yeah, I'm gonna get mad and yell at them.
If anyone calls you a white supremacist, you deny it. The label might fit, but it's not politically correct.
Also, it might be factually incorrect.
Number 7, instead of saying you support the alt-right, say that you're a centrist who just wants to hear both sides.
So what you're saying is, if you don't want to live in an echo chamber and only hear your side of the story and not the other side, you're alt-right? Is this dude for real?
This one's easy. People love centrists, even though it's a logical fallacy to claim that the two extremes are bad and the center is good. It's called an argument to moderation, look it up. But if you say you're a centrist, nobody can say that you're actually alt-right. And then all you have to do is ignore the left and constantly give a platform to the right. Make sure
I'm pretty left-leaning, but I'm pretty much a centrist, but that doesn't make me alt-right or racist or whatever. Nor do I defend the right, except, their right to, they're right. I'm defending the right's right to, spew out their bullshit, as much as I have a right to spew my classical JFK-style liberal bullshit.
you challenge the left on all their ideas, but allow the alt-right to speak freely.
Speaking freely and challenging the opposition's beliefs is usually what people do.
What's the issue?
It's genius, really. Say that you support free speech and hearing out both sides. People love that shit, and they won't even see how it works to empower the alt-right. And that, my friends, is how you can be a politically correct bigot.
I hate you. Good.